Welcome back to another episode of Run Till You're Done. Tonight's guest I've known for about 18 or so years. We both ran our first ultra together, and since then I counted 14 times we've been on the same finish line, not start line. So God knows how many others, training runs, etc.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions tonight, I deliberately stood back and let Nikki ask them, because it's how we get to know people. Almost. So somebody who I know is Sandra McDougall, but now Sandra Beattie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm honoured to be here.
Thanks for coming on, Sandra. So as Mike says, I do know you a lot less than he does, and a lot of us newbies in the community in the last 5 years. So for us new people, how did you first get into running?
So it was through work. I had started a new job. It was an oil and gas company. I'm in catering. I'm a catering manager. I have been all my life. And I remember, I think I started at the end of June. And I remember he says, oh, you've just missed out on our annual run. We always do this 5K every year. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I missed it. It's like, but before we knew it, we were back into coming around to signing up for it for the next year. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to do this run. All the other managers are doing it. I can't be the only manager not doing it. And so I signed up for it, and it was Jog Scotland 5K in the Botanic Gardens, which doesn't happen anymore. It was a great run, because you get to run around the Botanic Gardens. And I thought, I'm actually going to have to go and train for this. I hadn't run since school, and even then I didn't really run unless I was forced to. So I got a pair of trainers out the cupboard and a pair of shorts from my holidays, and thought this would be easy. It's only 3 miles. And I got to the top of my street, and I thought I was going to die. It's like, oh, I'm actually really going to have to train for this. It's like, so that was it. 2000 and I had to look it up actually. 2005, just realised it's 20 years since I started running. So I think I trained for 6 weeks leading up to this 5K, and that was the first race, which was the Jog Scotland 5K in Botanics, and I was thrilled to bits. I think I was about 35 minutes or something, but I was absolutely thrilled to bits to get this medal. And I was like, oh my God, I've just run 5K. And then I went back to work all excited, because there was quite a few runners that used to come in, they were out running at lunchtime. I was really impressed with them. And I was like, I've done this 5K and I'm really chuffed, and I think I'll go and do another one. I'm going to go up to Inverness and do it, because part of the, they do the 5K and the 10. And somebody says, you could do the 10K, Sandra. You could definitely do it. I was like, do you think so? I was like, no way. No, you've got 5 months to train for it. Of course you could do the 10K. And I was like, surely not. And then that was that. I did the 10K instead of the 5K in Inverness, and that was that. At the start of a rocky road. It was all downhill from there.
Start of a rocky road, indeed.
Uphill from there.
It wasn't that long afterwards that you got into the massive world of ultramarathons. Going from the races that you just mentioned, tell us how you came to be on the start line with me.
So at the finish of this race, I got given a goodie bag, and there was a copy of Runner's World in the goodie bag, and I was like, oh, some people could through this, and like that was the Bible. I was like, my goodness. And then I was like, oh, there's forums that you can join. I can find out what like other people think of running and all that kind of stuff. So I joined this forum on Runner's World, but within a few months I had migrated to a different website. I don't know if is the Runner's World website still running, Mike?
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. It's been so long since I've looked at the forum.
So there was a thread on one of the forums, and it was something about fetch, and I was like, oh. So anyway, went and started chatting to people that I knew on the forums, and then we migrated basically on to fetch everyone, which is what I've just been looking at the moment, because all my runs from, I think I started logging runs from then in 2005. It was August, I think, was when I started logging. So every run I've done that's been on my Garmin is on fetch everyone. Ian used to write all down in his wee diaries, and he had hundreds of them every day. But now everything's online, and every run I've ever done, every race I've ever done. It's great to look back and see all your PBs and all that kind of stuff. But it's such a great website, and I met so many people through it, like lifelong friends, and it's just been, it's brilliant. So Fetch is like to blame for the ultras, because then I met George Reed. George is a legend, and I met George and Karen through Fetch, and they weren't together at that point. They're married now. They weren't together, but they knew each other through this running. And I remember I was doing Le Caber Marathon, and I'd asked, I think it was my third marathon, and I'd asked George to pace me, because I wanted to get 4:15 or something. And George said, "Oh yeah, I'll pace you, I'll be no bother." So he met me at mile 1. He had this bin bag over himself, like to keep himself warm while he was waiting on me. And I was like, and we're chatting about it. I was like, "Oh, what was it you did, yeah?" Because he says, "Oh, I was at the race. I was at a race yesterday." So, "What race was that?" He says, "Oh, it's a race called the Highland Fling." And I was like, "All right, how far is that?" And he says, 53 miles. So he ran the Fling, which I'd never heard of. And then next again, he came and paced me to my 4:15 at Le Caber Marathon. And that was my first knowing of like what on earth is an ultra, and who would do something stupid like that. So I was just a road runner at that point. I wouldn't even run in grass. It was like, get my feet dirty or anything like that. But I got roped into doing the relay of the Fling. And George roared with laughter when he says, "Sandra, you're going to do, are you sure?" And they were saying, what's the best leg for you? Are you doing that? They decided the first leg would be the best one for me to do. But yeah, that was the first rocky road, the first windy road into the ultra scene.
I think George has got a lot to answer for. I fully blame him for me getting, 100%. Mm-hmm. And it's not the first mention. Keith Hughes, who was on the show previously, he said if he could run with anybody, George would be the person that he would want to run with again. So yeah, a lot to answer for.
It has, and yeah, but it's also great the fact that we had that knowledge, Mike, because nowadays so much out there for people that can just go, "Oh, like, do an ultra," like, and that. It was all new. There were no ultras. There was only the Devil, the West Salome, and the Fling. Really, that was it. There was old ones that had went by the wayside, the two bidges and things like that. But there was no ultras until the Sums thing came along, and then suddenly there was all these ultras. Now there's an ultra every weekend, and that is where I just feel kind of out of sorts when I go to races. And I was like, "Who are all these people?" I used to know everybody. I used to literally know everybody, and you did as well, Mike, by going on to races. And if you're marshalling or if you're running, you would know everybody at the checkpoints. You'd know all the marshals. You know everyone. But the scene has just exploded. It's incredible, which is a good thing.
I looked at the start list for the Sidlaw Ultra yesterday, and
no one.
I think there was 5 people, and most of them were from my running club. That was why I was looking there to see how they got on. But
Carol Murray was sweeping it, and I hadn't even heard of it. I was like, that's yet another ultra that's on that I hadn't even heard of. So yeah, so many. We went from having 3 races in Scotland to I wouldn't even begin to count how many there is now. So yeah, spoiled for choice now.
I think with the scene changing, social media's got a heck of a lot to answer for, because the way I came into this world was through Instagram, just making connections, and you see this one doing that race, and it just, as you say, it grows arms and legs, and then before you know it, you're way down the rabbit hole.
What I find astonishing, Nikki, is the amount of people that go into ultras, like, blind is the wrong word, not building up to it. Like, at least I did a 5k, a 10k, a half marathon, and it built up to it. My first full ultra was 30 miles, but it was on the South Downs Way. That's where I had to go to do to build up. Ironically, went back so many years later to do the 100, but like, it's I speak to people on races, and it's my first. I've never done a marathon, and you're like, why would you do that? I can't get my head around that, actually.
Well, I was really happy because I'd put a post up about West Highland Way and reflecting on Stephen McKenna's race, and I had so many people asking, are you putting your name in the ballot for this year? And I says no, because I've not had a year like I had in 2024. I had a really good year that year. And then my training, for personal reasons and professional reasons, I've not had the time to train.
Yeah,
and I know for a fact I've got other professional things going on. I've not even entered the Devil in April because I cannot commit to the training.
Yeah, it's 6 months of your life.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to do it well, it's 6 months of your life. And I'm not saying people like don't take it seriously or anything like that. But for me personally, if I turn up at a race, it's because I want to do it to the best of my ability, and therefore 6 months of my life will be put aside certainly for the full West May. But I'm saying even for the fling, 6 months of your life, you have to be selfish. You have to say, I'm going out for a 6 hour run, 8 hour run, and you'll not see me all day, kind of thing. And that's difficult, and that's why you see less people talk about why is there less women in the men and ultras, and that's because they're at home looking after the kids, and that's the way it is. Unless you've got that balance, and it's quite difficult to do that. I used to get up. I didn't start running until Stephen was about 12 or 13, so he was that sort of teenager. Stephen's my son. He's 33 now, so something like that now. Old. And I would get up at 5 in the morning, but I was used to doing that because that's what time I would get up for work anyway, and I ran to work every day at that time. So that's why I got into ultras quite easily. I was up at stupid o'clock and running, to work every day. So I would get up and do my 20-mile run before he was even out of bed. So yeah. I couldn't have done ultras when kids, I just couldn't have done it. I don't know how people do it when it was really young children, without having like really supportive partners on. It's difficult. Well, you've been doing it, Mike, Flora.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, is it?
No, I
you're mental.
Get up at 5 and go out for a run every morning. So
and I don't do that anymore. Like I'm retired from ultra running now. I'm definitely not a fun runner now. I just don't. I don't want to, and I don't want to be away from Ian. And Ian's not running anymore. That's probably made Ian is my husband, in case anybody doesn't know. So
previous guest on the show.
Yes. With him not running anymore, I'm having to kind of push myself out the door if the weather's crap and things like that. Whereas before we'd be like, I have to go. I know I've got Molly. Molly, everybody's like, oh, I've got a dog. You've got a running dog. She's not really a running dog. She'll run with me reluctantly, but she's not one of these ones that I could strap her on and off to go. I pull her up the hills instead of the other way around. So yeah, it's like it's difficult for women to get into it, and you can't. I know that some people are saying, "Oh, we need to get the balance of women running," and the reason that there's so many older women in ultra running that'll take up ultra running later is because the kids are older and it's easier to run. Simple as that. There's no big conspiracy about it or anything.
So you've said that you've got 20 years of experience of running, and I was having a look at your DUV record yesterday, just between from when you started ultras, and you've done self-transcendence, is that right, in Perth as well?
Yeah.
Which is basically a path, isn't it? It's not trail. So do you prefer trail or roads for ultra?
I definitely prefer trail, because I wouldn't have seen when the sums started up. So I've done, I think, every single one except if anybody doesn't know what the sums is, does everybody know what sums is? So it's Scottish Ultra.
Tell us anyway.
Scottish Ultra Marathon Series. So when there was only 3 ultras in Scotland, this guy came along. Who was it? Murdo, wasn't it? Came along and decided we need one in all over the country. So the Cateran was kind of born by then, because Dario had done it and Karen took it over. But Speyside Way, the Airway, well, obviously Midwest Army and the Fling. What else was the new ones? Oh, the Clyde Stride.
D33, did you mention that?
D33. So George and Karen did that. So all these new races, I would never have seen all these different places if I hadn't done all these different ultras. So I would never have been. Has anybody been on the Cateran Trail? When you go on the Cateran Trail, even when I was training for the Cateran, I could go out for 2 days, over 2 days, and do the whole thing and not see a soul. The Cateran Trail is probably still my favourite trail like I've done West Halmay a lot, because it's beautiful and it's kind of untouched, and people know about it, but they're not on it. There's nobody on it. You could just go and run and not see an absolute soul for like a whole day. It's incredible, and you don't get that obviously on the West Halmay. Like I just live half a mile from it, and it's like Piccadilly Circus sometimes. So trail is my favourite. But I like a good road race. I actually thought I'd go mad doing the loops of that, but I actually really enjoyed doing the. I did enjoy doing the Perth, and I always did quite well. I was second lady twice, or second and third. But I won a few Scottish athletics medals, and quite chuffed with myself for doing that.
Neil Gibson once put up a blog saying about how he was admitting that he was a road runner, and as if it was a bad thing. And I replied to him saying, I'm a runner. It's like I probably prefer trails, but I just like running. So if it's on the road, then it's on the road.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's like you're not, if you're a trail runner, you're a trail runner. There shouldn't be, oh, this is best. And that's the whole camp thing. It's like, Scotland and England kind of thing, isn't it? Who's best? Edinburgh and Glasgow. Edinburgh. So yeah, it shouldn't be. I mean, I got a lot of my PBs training for ultras, and you're only going to get these PBs by doing hard miles on the roads. A lot of them, I PB'd of like every distance when I'm running out doing all my ultras. Because you're working so hard and doing so many, but a lot of these miles aren't just trail miles. You're doing intervals, you're doing, your speed sessions and everything. It's not just rocking up and just running uphill.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you stay, what was it, half a mile from the West Halmay?
Yeah.
And was that an influence on why you moved to that location?
Yes and no. It was obviously during lockdown and when things had lifted a wee bit. So for years and years, we spoke about, we should move to the countryside and get a dog. And where we were in Edinburgh, we were in a sort of converted, it was a flat, but it was a converted mansion. So it was only 2 bedrooms. But Ian was trying to run a business from the spare room. It was just really difficult. He had to end up bringing the office chair, and it was just like it was busier than ever when during lockdown. So we just kind of fast forwarded our plans. I knew I wasn't going back to work. I worked at Heriot University at a business school, so I knew that wasn't going to open anytime soon. So we just fast forwarded our plans by 20 years, moved to the country and got a dog. So got Molly. Ian had an office ready to move into. So basically the first day we moved in, Ian was working next day from his office, and we were good to go. And it was, we had people here that we knew. So there were a few friends in the village, and it was close to the West Halmay. So we had all these things. Sadly, a few months later, Ian got his heart problems and couldn't run anymore. But yeah, that was our dream location of like, we're right next to the West Halmay, we'll be on it all the time and things like that. And things have got curveballs get chucked in the way. But so it was, and now obviously we've got Aviemore, so we're like in between the two. We're kind of blessed, 2 national parks. Can't complain at that.
Out of the whole West Island Way, because you obviously got a connection with that, there's 3 and some races. There's the Devil, the Fling, the full West Highland Way, and there's a couple of shorter ones as well. Out of all the races on the West Highland Way, which one's your favourite?
The Fling's my favourite, and I think there's two reasons for that. I just prefer you get such a mixture of stuff for the Fling. You start off, it's quite flat through Mulgai and right down to here, right along, and then it just changes so much. I feel that you get value for money of all the change and stuff, whereas the top half I find really rocky and hard on your feet, if you know what I mean, which is obviously difficult when you're doing the whole West Halmay race, because by then your feet are sore anyway. But I just prefer the scenery for the first half of it, if that makes it, which sounds crazy because you're in Glencoe and it's the most amazing place in the world for the second half. But yeah, I just think the changing of the underneath your feet, the rock climbing over Lochside, all that kind of thing. I just think there's so much change for the fling. It's just it keeps it fresh and exciting. I think as the whereas the Devil, it's not an eyeballs out race, is it? But it's more runnable, if that makes sense. A lot more runnable. You feel like you're having to run a lot more. The fling, you've got there's a lot of stoppy starty stuffs, and but it's the fling's my favourite basically.
And now you've said that you're up in Aviemore area, and it's got its selection as well. I think the East Highland Way goes through there, does it? But there are other races like Speyside Way, Larry Grew, Glenmore.
Yeah.
Have you got a favourite around there? Which ones have you done?
My favourite will be Glenmore. I won the Glenmore 12 one year, and that was the year I pulled out of West Hill Mary's at the Wigwams. I was just broken that year, and I'd end up in hospital the previous year, and I really didn't want to end up in hospital again. Bad for the race. Bad for the race director who you're married to. So pulled out, and then because I'd put 6 months of training into it, even though my ankles were starting to go like a bit broken, I'd got myself back to fitness quite quickly, and got a place in Glenmore and I won it. So like just for the 12, I didn't do the 24. So that is like, that'll always hold a wee special place, because anyway you've got to win, you'll always but it's a great race as well. It's so sociable. You know, you see people every 2 miles, and you see people all the time, and it's just the roars you get from the camp when you come round. It's just great. So it's everybody should go and do Glenmore. It's a great race.
And going back to the West Highland Way, you've entered and completed the race how many times?
I've entered 4 times. I've completed it 3 times. And
do you have a favourite year of completion?
My favourite year will be my PB year, which was 2015, which I said I wanted to get sub 22. So we used to get a hospital band number around your wrist, and I picked 22 that year, so that every time I looked at my wrist, 22, sub 22, Sandra, keep it on. 21:57 is it?
Oh, amazing.
I nailed it. So.
You just think now, if it was at the current finish line, that would add an extra 5 minutes on.
But there's no Cowpoo Alley now. There's no.
Yeah. They've got it easy nowadays.
Absolutely. Things have changed so much in the West Hill, like since we started running it initially, Mike. Like Cowpoo Alley, for instance, that is now tarmac, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but there's other things that is, and you'll tell, he's probably said this, it's changed so much. Even after Ben Glass, you used to have to go through fields and things like that. Now, again, it's nice and easy to run on. So yeah, I don't know. I would train a wee bit harder, and I would have trained for that distance to be that wee bit longer. I knew that time, although, you know, I came into Lindabra with my crew, and Ian appeared because he knew, obviously he was watching, obviously, and he's like, you'll need to, this is where I'm going to swear. He says, you're going to really need to work hard. I went, I am fucking working hard. It's like, you're really going to have to work hard for the next 7 miles, Sandra. I'm fucking working. Yeah, you think I'm not working hard? So like, I was like, ready to go up this hill, like telling me to I need to work hard to get this. But yeah, it was just, they were, my crew, I didn't look at my watch. I think my Garmin had died by then, but my crew obviously knew. And they were like, right, we're just going to just run up this bit. And it got to the stage where Nick was like really worried about keeping up with me going down the fire road. He's like, God, you need to slow down, Sandra. You shouldn't be doing 10-minute mile and after 95 miles. So yeah, it was good times.
And did you have the same crew every year?
Always. Team Santa, Nick and Susan. And I met Nick and Susan through Fetch Everyone. So they've been lifelong friends. Susan was my bridesmaid when me and Ian got married. But they've when I did South Dunsbury race even, and you didn't really need crew, but we're coming. So Team Santa had to go. They are wonderful because they just knew everything. They knew what I wanted. They knew they would run out to meet me, ask what I want, and come back in, and just everything. Nothing was too much trouble for them. Wonderful. And Nick lives in Lincoln and would come up every year. He'd come up and do training runs with us, and Susan's done Dumfries. next link. But it was just, and we'd have people coming along and help. My son was there a couple of times. My friend Jules and my friend. So we had other people come and join for different parts. But Nick and Susan were Team Santa.
That's Nick Dunk and
Nick Dunk, Susan Gallagher.
Gallagher. Couldn't remember Susan's last name there for a second.
She was up looking after Molly last night while we were at Scottish Athletics Awards.
How the other half live, eh, Nikki?
I know rubbing shoulders with athletes that Nikki doesn't know.
Yes. Who's Ailey Doyle? Only the most decorated Scot.
And I still don't know.
And you said about good times on the West Highland Way, but it's not always been good times. And I seem to remember compartment syndrome. Tell us a bit about that.
So the first year I ran the West Highland Way race, I had done my training and I was going for sub 23. That was my plan. All my training had suggested exactly that. And on the day, that was all going to plan. I was right up to Glencoe. Everything was going to plan. Sub 23 was on. And I got into Glencoe checkpoint. And as I left, and I'm not somebody who hangs around checkpoints. My crew will walk and talk with me and feed me as I'm going. I hardly, if I sit down, it's only to change my shoes or socks or whatever. And I couldn't run. I just couldn't run. I was like, oh, my ankles are really sore, and so I couldn't bend them. They were like that, like just solid. Couldn't move my ankles. I finished. I had to stop at Kinlochleven. The doctor, Chris. What's Chris's second name again? Ellis?
Yes. Yep.
So Dr. Chris Ellis put big ice packs on my ankles. So they were bright red. One of them was worse than the other one. And I spent an hour. And John Kinnison was on the bed next to me. He was having a bad year as well. And John Kinnison was a sub-20 marathon runner, West Highland Way runner. And I knew I had overtaken him, and it's unusual for John to be overtaken. And I knew I was on for sub 23. But yes, so got to Kinlochleven. I was lying there with big bags of ice on my ankles, and then he was like giving me paracetamol's the strongest you can get, and he strapped up my ankles, and I had to stomp my way to the end, like slowly. I couldn't bend my ankles, so imagine having to go up like out at Kinlochleven, that climb out at Kinlochleven, without bending your ankles. I was like this, like a robot. It was horrific. So, I mean, I went to the ceremony, went to the pub at night, and I remember Muriel Downey as a doctor, and she's like, Sandra, I'm not sure about your ankles, because it was bright red. I had a dress on, and she kept getting me to elevate my legs, and she was really worried about me. She was just like holding my leg up for most of the night at the party, and then got home that night, and I was awake all night. I was crying. I was like in so much pain. And by 5 or 6 in the morning, Ian phoned Chris, and so he put me on the phone, and he's chatting. He says, like, I've phoned the hospital. They're expecting you, and I need you to go right now. But I just didn't think anything of it. And he says, like, they're just go right now. They'll be ready to see you. So gets into the hospital, and I was shaking like that. I was in so much pain. I was like, it was an agony. And they gave me drugs really quite quickly, which was good. But they got a big marker and drew it around the front of my ankle, and I didn't get to sleep. I was in the hospital all night, and they thought it was compartment syndrome, which you can lose your leg from. It ended up not being, but they woke me up every hour. Well, they had this big cage over my leg, and they came and just checked it every hour to make sure that it wasn't growing. If it was growing, then it was a big problem. But luckily for me, it wasn't. It was just what I think Andrew Murray called it, ultramarathoner's ankle, or I remember. But and I've seen a few people have it before, but it looks like compartment syndrome, and which can be, you can lose your limb through that kind of thing, because that's the blood cutting off your the blood supply. So it was pretty horrific. I did get a visit from Karen and George and Ian. Karen Donahue, George Reid, and Ian, my husband, who came in and said, "We're just off to the Grog and Ghoul. We've just drank the champagne that you had." And off they went to the Grog and Ghoul and had a good night out while I was in hospital. So I was very aware after that things needed to. The next year, I went back to the West Ham, and that's when I pulled out because I knew my ankles were going the same way. And I thought, I can't end up in hospital for any race. No race is worth ending up in hospital for. So I knew then I had to change my training. And that meaning looked at my training plan, and we changed it. We just did a lot of different stuff, a lot more hill work, a lot more stuff to get my ankles used to going. Like one training session, I started at King's House Hotel, and I ran to Kinlochleven, and then I ran back down to the bottom of the Devil, and then I ran to Kinlochleven, and then I ran back to King House Hotel. So all one day. So things like that were kind of game changers of the next way I trained. Just tweaking stuff so I wasn't coming up with these same problems. Because if you just keep doing the same things, nothing will change.
Nikki's face looked in shock when you said that George and Ian and Karen said that they were away to the pub when you were left in the hospital.
Drank my champagne as well.
But would you have done exactly the same thing? Would you have went to the pub?
Of course I would have. Yes.
Good. Because, yeah, I would have expected it. Right, for anybody that's building up to the West Highland Way, whose ballot closes today, I think, at the time of recording, but so by the time anybody listens to this, it'll be closed. If somebody's name gets drawn out, other than the scare stories of compartment syndrome and not training hard enough, have you got any advice for any first-timers?
Can I just say before Sandra answers that, sorry, like after that story, I'm wondering by the time it closes and this goes out, how many withdrawals oh no, thank you.
Change my mind. If you can, get on to the course. I think that's invaluable for, you want to run a race and do the best you can, get onto the route that you want to be running on, get used to doing it, go on all the training runs that you can. But if you can't, because we've got people from overseas and that can. For me, my biggest thing was making sure you've got a training plan. I sat down with Ian every year and we did a plan. And to do that, like you were talking about earlier, Mike, we would factor in 10Ks, half marathons, maybe a marathon, road, to get the speed, because you still need speed. If you want to do well, you'll still need speed. So that was all part of my plan. Hence that's why you ended up PBing, because you're training so high. You'll PB at most of these distances if you can, but it's learning to race. It's turning up at the start of a race, feeling that nervous excitement, knowing. So you need to learn to race. So that was part. Just make a training plan basically, and try and stick to it. And life gets in the way. So if you get to the weekend and you're like, oh God, I'm feeling bad and I can't get this run, just reschedule it. It's not the end of the world. Things can be jiggled around, but try. And it's a 6-month plan. You need to get your head around the fact 6 months of your life you'll be thinking about nothing else except that. Back-to-back runs were a big thing for me. I liked doing that. Going out like the first few miles of doing, after you've done 30 miles a day before, and you're doing 20 miles next day, your first 2 miles, you're like, oh, dear God, this is awful. There's no way I'm going to do. And before you know it, you're actually in the groove, and it's fine. Back-to-backs are really important, I think, to run on tired legs, because your legs will get tired during an ultra, any ultra. So back-to-backs.
And back in ye olden days, before family commitments and stuff like that, I remember we used to go down onto the West Highland Way, travelling 200 miles to get there several times a month, just to do back-to-back runs. That would be the weekend plan, several times a month, and lead up to a race. Yeah,
you have to be selfish. And again, that goes back to that's why it's quite difficult for people juggling young children and things like that. Nikki, you're saying that. that's it's so difficult. It's so difficult for men and women, like to be able to fit that, and because you have to be selfish and you have to be able to. You're saying, right, this is what I'm doing, and this is the 6 months of my life will be nothing but training for. Like this is, I loved watching Stevie's journey last year because I just think he nailed it. He said everything right. He knew, you know what his plan was. He went out and did all the training on the air. He nailed it. And that is what you need to do. You need to have a plan, try and stick to it, and be selfish about what your goals are.
I think Stevie's was good as well because Stevie shared everything on Instagram, which for some people it can be a bit annoying, but honestly, if anyone's thinking about it, go back and look at his Instagram profile. Absolutely. And look at what it takes, because as Sandra's saying, it will take over your life, and that's exactly why I'm not even thinking about the ballot. I mean, the ballot, from what I heard, over 600 entries now for 300 spaces. Yeah. Because I was thinking about that earlier, like even that, there's going to be people in there that get their automatic entries, aren't there? Is it 5? If you've done it 5 times or more, you're in anyway.
You're not, and you still have to be able to. You still have to have prove that you can still run that distance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You've got 5, but you've not ran for 10 years. You're not getting in. You know
right.
I mean?
Yeah.
You still have to qualify, but you're just guaranteed a place.
Yeah.
Stevie that you were mentioning, it was Stevie McKenna, who previous guest, 100 kilos to 100k on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's still not changed his name.
Right. So it was a good achievement.
Definitely. So Sandra, you've done tons and tons and tons of races. Aside from the West Highland Way, I don't know if that is your favourite. Do you have a favourite race?
Like I was saying earlier, I think probably the Cateran, because it's just so peaceful. Even during the race, but then they don't take a huge amount of people for it. But I mean, it's easy to get lost to, isn't it, Mike?
I wouldn't know. I think I've been lost 6 times and done the race 6 times.
And you've done the double as well.
Yep.
So I think for it's just such a beautiful, peaceful route. You kind of just say, if you want to be at peace, just go and do the Cateran. The West Highland will always be special. But yeah, probably the Cateran, I would say, is the countryside, just lovely. It's nice. I was going to say runnable trails. You do fall down all the bogs and things like that, but it's lovely. And there's a loch called Loch Chandra. So it's like drunk Sandra. Yeah, Cateran, I would say.
Right. You said on the West Highland Way race you had crew, various races like Cateran, you had drop bags. What kind of nutrition, fuel, whatever you want to call it, do you have during a race?
I've never eaten a gel in my life, like ever. I don't really have a sweet tooth, but if I'm wanting something sweet, it's cola bottles. Love cola bottles, not the fizzy ones, just the regular ones, or like any kind of Haribo, like they're not the fried eggs, just the actual like cola bottles. But for West Highland Way race, because I can go out and do probably 18-20 miles without eating, because I don't really eat breakfast in the morning. But I know for the West Highland race, I've got to fuel. So, but when I got to, I used to have M&S. That was quite specific. M&S rolls, because they're wee soft white rolls with either Dairy Lee on it or ham, and I would have chicken cup soups. So chicken cup soups, but they would have 2 chicken cup soups in 1 wee cup, so wee plastic cups, paper cups. So it was really salty, and I was getting the taste. So I would dip my wee roll into my chicken cup of soup. But tea, I always used to get tea at checkpoints. I would like a cup of tea. But I basically did the whole West Highland race 3 times on chicken cup of soups and M&S rolls. Yeah, that was it. I've never taken any gels. Cola bottles, like I say, because they're nice and just tasty. I hate jelly babies. Sorry, but Jelly Baby Hill. Just don't like them. Never have done. And I've never taken a gel, ever. I just prefer real food. So packet crisps sometimes. So I always had crisps in my bag, something salty. So I'm much more a savoury person than a sweet person. So like if I ever had a Lucozade, I needed to have like that much Lucozade and the rest water. Right. So it's like couldn't have that cloying, horrible sweet taste in my mouth. So yeah, savoury stuff.
In certain drop bags, particularly near the end of a race, you might have some liquid in there. What would you?
I've had occasional vodka, an iron brew. I didn't for the West Ham race, but I have had for the Fling several times, and for the Clyde Stride. I remember at Clyde Stride, I was pacing Susan once for doing it, and we stopped. I think we were about 3 miles from the end, and we were on all these steps, and we sat down and we had a wee cocktail. It was like with vodka and iron brew. We were pouring the vodka into the wee miniature into the iron brew bottle, and Susan's like, I can't believe we're having cocktails at mile 37 of a 40-mile race. So yeah, I've had vodka and iron brew, because who doesn't love iron brew? Iron brew is another. So the iron brew, that would probably be my only sweet, and it has to be obviously the proper iron brew, not your sugar-free stuff. That would be my only. And I like it fizzy. I see these people that they open the Coke and have flat nut. I want it fizzy. None of this flat Coke or flat iron brew nonsense. I'll just burp my way along the course.
And is there anything that you like to have post-race? Do you have any cravings
Champagne.
for anything?
To be honest, I am not hungry for about at least 12 hours after. It's really difficult to eat, I find. Not hungry. You think you're going to want to eat the world, and you don't. You really don't. But yeah, champagne. I quite often after West Ham race would have a really sore throat. You ever had this, Mike?
Yeah.
Like when you try to swallow, and I don't know if it's sort of I don't know what it is. It passes after a couple of hours, but you try and eat or drink anything, cup of tea, water, and it's just really sore right in the roof of your mouth. Really, really difficult to eat or drink anything, to be honest. But it's usually by the Monday I start getting, then you eat for a week. But for the first couple of days afterwards, I think it's because your body's been awake for 24 hours, and it's been used to eating minimum amounts of stuff when you get to checkpoints and that. So it's just, you need to let your body settle back down to get, all the adrenaline. Everybody thinks they're going to sleep like crazy. All you're thinking about is sitting down and going to sleep. You don't. You just don't. You're like absolutely buzzing still. It's very difficult to sleep. I've like a couple of times. In fact, every time I've done the race, apart from a broken ankle here, I've went back along and seen people come. I wanted to see the last finishers when it was at a leisure centre. I would just wander back on the road and see people coming in, and people are like, "Oh, you're not knackered," and you're like, "You're just not. You've had a few hours sleep, and that's fine." But it's just nice to go and. I think you're riding on the wave of the whole race weekend because it's part of a special weekend. Kind of don't want it to end, and it's just nice. But your body, it takes a wee while to get back to normal.
You mentioned about the sore throat. I think I haven't had it recently, but I remember years ago I used to get it, and I always put it down to it being a windy day and you're like breathing harder or something.
Yeah. I've not had it in every ultra, but I've had it a few times, and you're like, oh, it's just so painful. But it does pass quite quickly.
Yeah.
But it's just top of your mouth, just so painful. I remember Karen telling me about it. Karen Donahue, and when she goes, oh, sometimes you get a really bad sore throat. Don't know what it is.
I hadn't heard about this. I'd done my first ultra was a John Muir Way. And as far as ultramarathons go, like it was running into a headwind the whole way, which I had no experience of running an ultra anyway. So I was kind of, oh, is that what it was in that? And everyone's like, oh yeah, it was awful. And that night I was starving and I wanted a Chinese, and I had chicken fried rice and curry sauce, and I couldn't eat it because, as you, Sandra, it went in my mouth, and it was as though the roof was like sandpaper.
It's full of
and I crashed. Because
you must be raging. Hope you kept it for next day. At least
I'm glad you said that, because I thought that was just me. Like, so that's quite interesting. You've mentioned that.
I've had it a couple of times, not every race, but randomly, and I don't know. It'd be quite good to see if there's been any study into that.
Yeah.
And you say favorite drink after a race is champagne, which I don't think the race needs to be involved. You probably just have it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're treating every race like a celebration, an achievement, what is your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement for running.
For running, yeah. Well, mention both. Mention any achievement if you want.
I was chatting to Ian about this actually, because I was thinking, what is, like I was speaking earlier about when you're training hard, you'll PB at every distance. So I've only done London Marathon once, and I went down and I knew I was in great shape. It was the year I did my PB for West. No, it was South Downs Way race, I think. Can't remember. Anyway, either PB or either West Ham Way or South Downs Way, and I thought I knew I'd get a PB, but I didn't know how much of a PB I would get. My best before that was 3:38, and I got 3:30. I thought I'd get my 5 minutes. I certainly didn't expect to knock nearly 10 minutes off a PB and do it in London, where everybody says it's really difficult to PB in London. So to get 3:30 in London, I can still dine out in that. You know, like I might not be ultra running anymore, but these races, these PBs will never go away. You know, that's something you'll have forever. So on the back of after London, while I was training for South Downs Way race, I was doing really well and running really well, and I was on fire. Everything went my way that day. I was just running great. I was really enjoying it, and it was kind of like I went full circle. So my very first ultra was on the South Downs Way. I went all the way down, couldn't get any further. Like I said, there was no ultras in Scotland really around about then, and I went way down to the South Downs Way to do a 30-mile race. My friend Jen was running it as well. I crewed for Jen. That was my first foray into the West Ham Way as well. I'll go back to that in a minute. So South Downs Way, mile 84. I was still running down this hill. Thought it was great. Look at me, mile 84. I'm on fire, and I was on for probably in between 20 and 21 hours. And something went in my thigh. Something excruciating went in my thigh. I was screamed and had to stop. Well, I didn't stop. I just had to stop running at that point. But carried on. I had to hobble, a slow hobble for the last 14 miles. But I still did 22 and a half hours, which I was dead chuffed with. And I think for me, being in such good shape, I was just thrilled to bits to get my buckle with I knew I was going to do sub 24. Like that sounds really. I knew I was going to do sub 24. I knew I was in good shape, and let bar something go badly wrong. If I went badly wrong at mile 20, I might not. It went wrong, later stages, which can happen in any ultra, any race actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they two, I guess, are probably my greatest running achievements.
Well, I think a 3:30 marathon, that's absolutely incredible. And as you say, in London as well, where it would be quite hard to PB because it's such a large volume of crowd as well.
Yeah.
When you were running that 3:30, I know this sounds really daft a question probably, but did it feel really hard at the time? Or do you remember it feeling like, right, I'm feeling quite comfortable? How was it when you were running that?
It didn't feel hard at all. Which is really odd because I can't remember last time I ran an 8-minute mile. Never mind doing it for 26. I'm actually really tough to see anything nowadays when I run, but to get to run the whole way at 8-minute mile, and it's just crazy to me in my head now. But no, it didn't feel hard at all because I was in such good shape, and I'd done a lot of training and doing a lot of road running training as well. But no, if I'd known I was 3:30 and 30 seconds or something like that, so I wasn't sub 3:30. But maybe if I'd known how close, I mean, I could see my watch obviously, but if I'd thought I was going to get anywhere near, I thought it'd be about 3:35. I didn't realise I'd be so close to that. I might have pushed a wee bit harder, but I was enjoying it. I really, really enjoyed it and didn't find it was particularly hard. I just cruised it. Now I can't cruise an 8-minute mile for half a mile, never mind 26.
So you've continued running, Sandra. You say you're retired from ultramarathons. Are you retired from any other races, and why do you still run?
The only races I really do at the moment is park run, Aviemore park run, usually when we're up there. And I run now just to keep fit, really. I probably will do other races as like if I can be bothered at some point. But yeah, again, life gets in the way. I was meant to be doing Aviemore half marathon, and then I fell a couple of times, got injured. Then something else. I can't remember. Something else got in the way. Molly hurt herself. So Molly was injured. I thought she broke her leg, so she was about a month out, and I couldn't, for the first few days I couldn't leave her at all, and I couldn't do my training that was meant to be doing. Ian was in Tokyo, so I couldn't do anything. I was like, she was on really short leash walks, and I couldn't leave her in case she was jumping off the couch or going up the stairs and things like that. So that put the kibosh on Aviemore half marathon. I just couldn't get the training done, and I'm not going to turn up to a race that I can't do as well to my abilities, if you know what I mean. The last race proper, I guess I did was Great North Run last year, because I'm in the lucky position to be able to get an invite and go to that, and I was on the telly and everything. Well, I'm mixing with the celebs at the start line. But I just run for fun now, and I don't need to get up at 4:30 every morning anymore. And if it's raining, I might not go out for a run because it's raining. And I ran in blizzards. I ran in hurricanes, like storm warnings, you name it. Before there was red, amber, and everything, I just ran to work, and it's 9 miles away. But it was for the latter part 9 miles every day, regardless of the weather. So now I can be a fair weather runner because I choose to be.
With that being said, Sandra, I'm going to ask something that isn't actually on our question set, but running in all weathers, do you have a favourite piece of kit that you like to run in that you wouldn't be without?
Not really. No, everybody always laughed at me because I was saying best weather for any reason. Everything was best weather. Because I would start off with layers, but then I'm down to my vest. And I don't know if it's just because I'm not running the same distances or whatever's changed. But now I'm freezing all the time. I'm just like, what? I need 5 layers before I go out running. But I was, even in darkest winter, my hands would always get cold because I get Raynaud's. So I always needed gloves. So gloves, sometimes even in the summer, because I was leaving the house at 5 o'clock in the morning. Even in the summer, it'd be dark, start off dark. But even like in midsummer, maybe start to get light, but it's still nippy. Even in the nicest of days. So I always have gloves in my bag. So gloves is have gloves and have a buff. Because a buff, you can, if it's like coat, at the moment I'm wearing it because it keeps your neck warm, but you can use it as a headband because my ears get cold. So in the winter, I always had a buff as a headband to keep my ears warm. The only thing I've not found yet is because my nose gets really cold. What do you do? Got a cold nose? Apart from wearing a balaclava, looking like you're about to murder somebody. But there's nothing. What do you do? Like stick something on your nose and keep it warm. But your ears, everything else you can do. Can't run me a hat because I get too hot. But because of the buff, you can wear it as a headband and keep your ears warm.
We like a buff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you got invite to Great North Run, running with celebrities. One of my earliest memories with us running together was something that we found out about through Fetch Everyone, the website that you mentioned, was running with Eddie Izzard when he ran rounds, basically started in London, came up through Scotland. I can't remember, was it 50 marathons he was doing? And
was it not random? Was it not 52? I don't know why 52.
Something like that, I can't remember. 52 marathons in something like 56. Yeah. So we ran with him. We ran together with him and Frank Skinner, Denise Van Outen on. I started in Stirling, and then you joined us when we got to Edinburgh.
So I had run the day before. I had run a Parker seat with them. So I was on all the news channels during that because it was during the festival as well. That's why Frank Skinner was there. He was on a show. and I had went to meet him at Bristol Square. And actually, I was the only one. I was the one to show him where to go. I think it was only about Edinburgh person there, so to take him. So we went all the way up to Aftersea. The top Aftersea, camera crews, like from STV, BBC, and everything all at the top. So it was a bit bizarre. So that was the, or maybe the day, 2 days before, I can't remember. And then the day we ran with you, Mike, we ran from. Where did we meet up? Picked you up in a random place.
Well, on the Edinburgh day, we started near the airport, ran into town, but he went to go and see a show and then started again in the afternoon.
So we did about 20 miles, and I had done the Ockles race the day before. Again, that ridiculous race. I call it, right, I'm going to swear again, the bastard Ockles. I thought I'm doing these ultras. I can go and do this 20-mile race. It'll be fine. It's called the Ockles 2000. Have you done it, Mike?
I've not, no.
So I did it. I thought that'll be fine, and I did it with Phil Owen, and he had to kind of navigate. It's all the hills in the Ockles over 2,000 feet. Is it? Yeah, and I actually thought I was going to die that day. It's like, I am going to get airlifted off here. I'd be running along, and suddenly I would disappear down this ditch. I honestly thought I was going to break my leg or ankle, or I thought I was going to die. And it took me years to go back to the Ockles. I did it as a Glee Club run, years and years, because I was traumatized by it. And I remember do you remember Scotty Ribena face? Scott Craighead. So a guy called Scott Craighead said to me, Sandra, I trained for 5 years before I did that race. I trained for 5 years before I even attempted that race. And I was like, I'll be fine. So yeah, anybody that's going to, the race is still going, I think. And if you're going to go and do it, please train properly. But don't do what I did. Don't be a Sandra. That was and that was the day before we met Eddie, and ran another 20 miles with them. Go figure.
Was the Ockles humbling, Sandra?
Yes, it was. I think, it was awful.
And you mentioned it was a Glee Club run you were doing. What is the Glee Club, for those that don't know?
So the Glee Club was started up by Ellen McVeigh. Now, Ellen McVeigh was kind of the founder of the Fling, her and Murdo. And when the Fling first started, Ian was one of the first runners of the race, and there was only 17 of them. And they would meet John Kinniston, Ian, and like all the Peter Duggan would all go and do all these training runs, and they were and Ellen, but they were hard training runs. Like these guys take no prisoners, off they go, like really hard training. And Ellen says, this is just a nightmare. I want to just go and enjoy myself, like have a bit of a decent run and enjoy the countryside and the views and things like that. So the Glee Club was born from that, of we want to enjoy runs, and there's no pace. You're not eyeballs out. This is about coming along. Anybody at any ability could go along and just enjoy runs and beautiful countryside. So we had on the West Island Way, Catteran, and they've been all over. And the Glee Club still does runs. I don't think there's as many as there used to be, but that's where the Glee Club came from and why it came around. Because you had people like Ian and John who were wanting to run really fast and train really. They work hard, play hard. They trained hard. They weren't interested in somebody behind us stopping and waiting. That wasn't their bag. We're not stopping waiting on anybody.
But the Glee Club does welcome anybody, because I've been on a few of their runs, and it is open to anybody that wants to run, as long as you're not forcing anybody to run at your pace. Yes.
Yeah, it's welcoming to everybody, and you can go and run fast if you want to.
Yeah. Out of all the runs, you're saying you're not running as much now, but you were. Whether, I don't know if the answer to this question changes, but what do you think about while you're running?
When's this going to end?
Is that the same for a 3 mile run? that you started off with for your 5K for your work first run the same as the West Highland Way?
I don't even think I think about things in the same way as I just go about my day to day and think about things. I listen to my radio when I run, which is a bit weird. Most people will listen to music, so I am listening to music, but I'm also listening to the radio. So I'm hearing other stuff like traffic news or the weather reports or like chats and things like that. So I don't think I think about anything. I'm usually listening to what's going on, if you know what I mean. But I've always I've got bone conductor earphones now, but even when I didn't, when I had the proper earphones, the wired ones, I always had it low enough to be able to hear what was going on around about me. And like people used to say to me, how could, because when I worked at Heriot Business School, I run on the canal quite a lot of the time. And it's pitch black in the morning at any time of the year. And I would run along right through Wester Hales and all these like dodgy places. Sorry, anybody from Wester Hales. You're not terrified. And I'm like, there's probably more chance of me getting attacked at 6 o'clock at night in the meadows than there is at 6 o'clock in the morning on the canal path, by dark or not. So I know I wasn't terrified. I was never scared when I was running, but I always was aware of what was going on around about me. I could hear stuff. I could hear somebody coming from behind. I could hear bikes, because quite often I'd have bikes like tearing past me, no lights on or whatever. But I could hear them coming before, because my earphones were either low enough to just to be aware. But now you've got the bone conductor ones, which is great anyway. But you need to be aware of your surroundings wherever you are.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite radio station?
Radio 4. I still listen to Radio 4 because I'm an Edinburgh girl, and I'll always be an Edinburgh girl wherever I live. I go on holiday and I go for a run and I'm listening to Radio 4. I listen to MFR when I'm in Aviemore, but it's networked anyway now. But yeah, Radio 4.
And you have a heavy involvement with the West Highland Way and volunteering. Do you have any other events that you volunteer for and help out with, or anything that you've got coming up? Are you still involved with the West Highland Way race next year?
Involved with SMA. Ian has stepped down, as you know, as race director. So I am still doing the social media for it, which can be fun times. But what I love race weekend, because I try and get as much live updates and chat to runners. So people were saying to me last year, oh, that was my runner. That was like, watching from Australia or watching from, and they got to see I was having a wee chat with them as they came into Benglass or whatever. So that's kind of quite exciting for that. But yeah, that's that. I'm just kind of involved, and I obviously like help whatever I'm needed. I'm always on registration duties for the West Ham race, and then just like hopping up and down the course. I don't do as many. I help at our local 10K. I usually go and do the route marking for it and do then the tail running for that. But I've helped at probably every Scottish Ultra going. Like I say, every Sums run. If I wasn't running, I was helping. Helped at Fling. If I help at Fling every year, I've helped at Devil. I've helped at Catalan for years. I cooked for all the runners. And the crew. There's not a race I don't think I've marshalled at. So I don't feel guilty about not doing it so much now. I still do it, but I don't feel guilty about not doing it, because that our life was going to races and helping out at races, and that's through Scottish Athletics or for all the ultras. It wasn't just ultras we were helping out. I've helped out Adrian Stott, who's the new race director. Everybody knows Adrian. His races at Silvernows, and at the Meadows as well. So we have done a lot over the years. Definitely, and I think it's so important. These races do not happen by themselves. It's not a money making machine. Most of them aren't. So unless people help, the races won't happen. You see a lot of people turn up and like run a race a lot, but never help. And I don't understand that, because these races will not carry on if people don't give something back. Give something back to the community that you're enjoying. Yeah, it's not much to ask, and actually, it's really bloody good fun as well. Although it is actually sometimes harder than running. I have done 12-hour shifts at the fling. I've never taken 12 hours to run the fling ever. So yeah, like I'm like, I'd be finished this hours ago if I'd been running it. So it's a hard gig. For the Cataran, I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning cooking for marshals and runners, and then cooking for them coming back when they finish as well. So a long day.
It definitely is. I can back you on that.
It's hard work. Like I say, it's sometimes harder than running it. It's a bit like crewing for the West Army.
Yeah.
I'd rather run it.
And do you have any dream races or bucket list races that you would like to do in the future, or even adventures if you're not racing?
You won't be surprised to hear Marathon Le Médoc is kind of the only one that's really on the list. I would really like to go and do that one day. It's just always been something I've had in my head. It's just a fun. I'm not really racing any big distances anymore, but that's one I could definitely manage to get round.
And for those that don't know, Marathon de Médoc, you are encouraged to have a little beverage throughout the race.
Through the wine regions of France.
Oh, is it that one? Oh,
yes.
That sounds a good one as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the water stations are wine stations, basically. There's also charcuterie rewards and all that kind of stuff. So it just looks like a fun race to do. I think that.
And how often do you get a drink?
Every mile.
Oh God, no! I'd get past mile 2, and I'd be lost.
So, Glencoe Marathon. I don't know if they still do it, but when I did Glencoe Marathon, when I got to Lundavra, I think they do it backwards now. They do it start at Fort William and finish in Glencoe now. We used to start in Glencoe and finish in Fort William. When you got to Lundavra, they had port and cheese, and I had the port and the cheese, maybe 2 or 3 ports. But yeah,
on the Cataran Trail, depending on who's marshalling at the last checkpoint, you sometimes get a whiskey there.
Yeah, I don't like whiskey. I know, Scottish and don't like whiskey.
Is the last checkpoint at Cataran before that massive hill that you go up at the end? Right.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a hill.
It looks terrifying on the elevation.
Slight hill on the way up.
It just looks big because on the elevation graph, because the rest of the course is so flat. It's like a pancake.
It's not a pancake. Right.
Is that a lie, mate?
That's lies. Is he trying to get you to do the Cataran adventure?
I would love it, but see, after hearing the Perrys talk about it and getting lost, I'd be absolutely effed for me doing that.
Well, that's why you need to go and do your training runs.
Yeah.
To be fair, on the Cataran, I would never have got lost if I actually looked where I was going, but I was trying to run it fast.
I didn't get lost that time. You had just because you were like running on ahead, and then suddenly you appeared in front of me. I'm like, where have you been? I went and then the trail ran out, I think you said. And I was like, there's a style, we go over there. So it's not often that I would be showing you the way.
Yeah.
You still beat me though, Mike. I think you still beat me by about 2 minutes.
I was saying, every time that I've got lost, if I had actually looked, there was a sign to point you in the right direction. It's just that 100% my own fault. I didn't look. So
it's just being aware, like anything. Everybody blindly follows. I don't know if Ian told you this, and when he was on, he got lost in West Army race in the first 3 miles. Yep.
Yeah.
But
so
then
when you go along Mugduck, you know how he got that hill?
Yeah.
Go along that first. They all went straight on. Like the first, so he just followed all the runners that were ahead of him. And when they got to water, they realised we were like, oh, I don't think there was never water. There was never a river here. And they all did about an extra mile that year. Not all of them, but at least 30 of them all went the wrong way. So there you go. Ian Beattie, race director for West Army race, went the wrong way on the West Army. And
well, not just the race director, Rob Sinclair, the year that he set the record, he did an extra mile in Murdoch Park because him and Lee Kemp were chatting and went the wrong way. So they went half a mile off. He ended up having to overtake everybody in the race.
Because you take your mind off it for a second. If you're chatting to somebody, oh, you didn't see that sign, and you're just run past it. So that anybody doing an ultra, there you go. There's a tip. Just watch where you're going. You're just because somebody's went that way, it doesn't mean you're going that way. When I did talking about the fling, really. So I remember coming to the beach. I'd never been on the West Ham at this point, ever. And I came out. I have to say, some of the marshals are to blame here. Marshals were standing at the beach tree, not at the road crossing, and I came out to cross the road and ran down to the left. I didn't know I was crossing the road and going over to the next part of the trail. I just came in and went down the road. Yeah. I'm running down the road and somebody shouted me back, "Oh, it's this way." I'm like, well, that's what the marshals are there for. Yeah. You're telling me that. But a runner shouted me back. I got lost 3 times on the first 12 miles of the West Highway. Dear God.
Right. The next question. Have you got anybody that you would like to run with, whether alive or not, fictional or real?
I'd like to. I wish Ian could be running again. So I'd like to be running with my husband again. We used to do a lot of runs. He was always faster than me. I was always just seeing him from behind, like that. He was a good windbreaker. But we had quite a lot of adventures, a lot of like all my training. Where when I was training hard, he was my biggest supporter. He would be out, meet me at checkpoints, run out to meet me. So he would do as many miles because he would run out to meet me and run back in. And we would just go off weekends and just do lots of running and things. So Ian is a person I would like to run with again, and he can run, but he kept on getting injuries again. So he's just never a golfer. And we still walk together a lot with Molly, obviously. But yeah, I kind of missed those days where, and I probably would be running more if he was still running as well, because that incentive to be able to go out and do your wee adventures together and all that. So yeah, that's an easy one to pick.
And last question, unless Mike has any more after this, do you have anything coming up running wise next?
No. I don't even know if I'm going to run tomorrow. Apparently, I've just got an Alexa warning saying it's really going to rain. Probably not.
They check the weather.
I'm working tomorrow. The next few days, I usually try and get running before I go to work. If Carol will persuade me to go out, like, or she'll say, I'm running before. Like, so it's quite good if you can say to somebody, I'll meet you to go for a run, then you're not going to back out of it. So that's another good wee tip. And it's whereas before, if I was training for something, the weather made no difference whatsoever, apart from the fact of whatever you're packing in your bag. It was happening. 30-mile run, 50-mile run, whatever it is, it's happening. Weather schmether. Now I'm like, oh, it's a wee drizzle. I'll just stay and have a cup of tea. But well, I say nobody can take away all my times and all my races that I've done. So I can I take my hat off to you, Mike. You're still running really well after all these years, and I think that's a really difficult thing. We were chatting about that recently, me and Carol and a few others, who when we all started running, everybody knew each other, like we were talking about. I don't think out of all the people that we've all started running together are all still running, because a lot of life will catch up with you. Injuries. I've got osteoarthritis in my knee. That's just probably aging. But a lot of people get injured, never really get back into, or various things get thrown your way. So I just think enjoy the stuff that you're doing while you can do it while you're fit and healthy. And fair play to people like yourself, Mike, who are still doing it all these years later at a high level. It's a difficult thing to do, because it's a difficult thing to, especially you had your heart problems as well. We don't know what's around the corner. Take what you can when you can get it, and when you've got your health, carry on doing it. And just enjoying the journey, basically, isn't it? It's about enjoying what you can do.
I think that's the key word. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it?
Why would you do it? Why bother? You see people like moaning, and I mean, I don't particularly like parkrun. It's really hard. 5Ks are hard. Your eyeballs out the whole way, and I do moan all the way there. Oh God, it's important. But I'm always really tough once I've done it. It's like, any race, you're like, oh, that's really. But I was never really a nervous racer. I was always really chilled for the West Helmy race, turning up and things like that. I think if you've done the training for stuff, then you can turn up at races and feel, I know I've done everything I can. And I think this is really important for anybody that's wanting to do the West Helmy race or any other race. If you've done the training, getting to the start line in one piece is probably the most important part. Getting to the start line, you've done the training, is that's all you need to do. Because once you're on the start line, the rest will take care of itself. So many people you see getting injured leading up to races that are like doing stupid stuff or just they fell over or broken ankle or whatever. So getting to the start line of that 6 months training is your most important. But getting to the end will take care of itself. Getting to the start line is the most important thing.
And that start line goes all the way to the very start line. I know somebody 2 years ago who fell over in the car park at the West Highland Way and he didn't make it to the start line.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way.
Yeah. Like we had people last year picking up the number and then coming back and handing it back in. I've never had that before. Like in all the years, like it's been 15 years of involvement of. It's like, what? You've done 6 months of training. Why would you then turn up with your crew? And then, because it's a big commitment to bring your crew along and do all that. But that's 2 years in a row. I think we've had that now of people pulling out on the day. Yeah. Mad.
Well, as Nikki said, I think that draws us to a close. Thank you, Sandra, for coming on. Great chat, great catch up. Thank you, Nikki, for being Nikki, and it's goodbye from me.
Thanks,
Thank you
Sandra.
for having me, and it's been great.